I'm writing this because I need to get it out, to make sense of what happened, to understand how 15 years of marriage can dissolve in a single evening, like sugar and rain. My name is David, and 3 months ago, my world ended. Not in some dramatic explosion, but in the quiet way that trust dies. Slowly, then all at once. Sarah and I met in college. She was studying psychology. I was in business. We were both 22, both convinced we had forever figured out. She had this laugh that started in her chest and bubbled up like champagne. I fell in love with that laugh before I fell in love with her. Our wedding was small, just family and close friends in her parents' backyard. Sarah wore her grandmother's dress, altered to fit her perfectly. I remember thinking as she walked toward me that I was the luckiest man alive. The way she looked at me that day, like I was her whole world. I still dream about it sometimes. We built a life together. Bought a house on Maple Street with a blue door and a mortgage that felt impossible. Sarah painted the kitchen yellow because she said it made her happy. I installed shelves in the basement for my tools. We adopted a golden retriever named Murphy who shed everywhere and stole socks. The first 10 years were good, really good. We had our fights, sure, about money, about whose turn it was to do the dishes, about whether Murphy could sleep on the bed. But we always worked through it. We had this rule, never go to bed angry. We'd talk until we found our way back to each other. Sarah got her master's degree and started working at a counseling center downtown. I made partner at my firm. We talked about kids, but never quite got around to it. There was always next year, always tomorrow. Time felt endless then. Looking back, I can see when things started to change. It was subtle at first. Sarah began working late more often. She'd come home tired, distracted. The way she used to light up when I walked in the room, that started to fade. "How was your day?" became a question with shorter and shorter answers. "Fine. Busy. You know how it is?" I told myself it was normal. Marriage ebbs and flows, right? People get comfortable. The passion settles into something deeper, quieter. That's what I believed, what I needed to believe. But then she stopped reaching for me in bed, stopped laughing at my jokes, stopped telling me about her work, her dreams, her fears. We became roommates who happened to share a last name. I suggested counseling. The irony wasn't lost on me. My wife was a therapist who wouldn't go to therapy. She said we didn't need it, that we were just going through a rough patch. Every couple does. "I'm fine, David, we're fine." That word, fine, it became the soundtrack of our marriage's final act. It started with small things. A new perfume I didn't recognize. Text messages that made her smile in ways I hadn't seen in months. Phone calls she'd take in the other room, speaking in hushed tones. "Who was that?" "Just work stuff." She started going out with the girls more frequently. Thursdays became her night out. Then Fridays too. Sometimes Saturdays. I'd ask which friends she was seeing, what they were doing. The answers were always vague. "You don't know them. Just some people from work." "We're going to that new place downtown." I wanted to trust her, tried to convince myself that my suspicions were just insecurity, maybe a midlife crisis. But the evidence kept mounting. Receipts in her purse from restaurants I'd never been to. Charges on our credit card for things that didn't make sense. One night she came home at 2 in the morning. Her lipstick was gone, her hair disheveled. She smelled like cologne, not mine. "Where were you?" "Out with Linda. You know how she gets when she's had too much wine." But I'd run into Linda at the grocery store that afternoon. She'd asked how Sarah was doing, mentioned she hadn't seen her in weeks. I'm not proud of what I did next. I hired a private investigator, a middle-aged man named Frank with kind eyes and a job I wouldn't wish on anyone. I told him I needed to know the truth, whatever it was. "Are you sure about this?" he asked. Sometimes the truth is worse than not knowing. I was sure. I needed to know. Frank called me on a Tuesday. His voice was gentle, the way doctors deliver bad news. "We need to meet." We sat in his office, looking at photographs spread across his desk like a poker hand from hell. Sarah getting into a car with a man I didn't recognize. Sarah holding hands with someone else outside a hotel. Sarah kissing a stranger in a parking garage. The images blurred together. My hands shook as I picked up each photo, studying them as if they might change if I looked hard enough. There's more, Frank said quietly. It's not just one person. He showed me surveillance footage on his laptop. My wife, my wife, with different men over the course of several weeks, 3 different men. Sometimes alone with each one, sometimes together. The room spun. I think I might have thrown up. I didn't confront her immediately. I spent 3 days walking around our house like a ghost, looking at our wedding photos, our shared memories, trying to reconcile the woman I'd loved for 15 years with the stranger in Frank's photographs. Sarah seemed oblivious. She hummed while making coffee, asked about my day, complained about traffic on her way home from work. The normalcy of it all made it worse somehow. On Friday night, she announced she was going out again. With who? I asked. Linda and some friends, the usual. I looked at her, standing in our kitchen, applying lipstick, using her phone's camera as a mirror. She looked beautiful. She always looked beautiful. That hadn't changed. I know, I said. She glanced up. Know what? About the men, about what you've been doing. The lipstick tube fell from her hand, clattering on the kitchen floor. For a moment, we just stared at each other across the space where our marriage used to be. David, 3 men, Sarah. 3. Her face went through a series of expressions. Surprise, fear, defiance, and finally something like relief. The relief hurt more than anything else. How long have you known? Does it matter? She sat down heavily at our kitchen table, the one we'd picked out together at an antique store in Vermont. Her hands were shaking. I never meant for it to happen. Which time? She flinched. It started with Mark from work. We were working late and he was going through a divorce and I was lonely and then? Then it was easier the second time and the third time, and before I knew it, I was someone I didn't recognize. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw things. I wanted to ask her 1,000 questions about why and how and when and what I'd done wrong. Instead, I just felt empty. Did you ever love me? She looked up, tears streaming down her face. Of course I did. I do. David, I love you more than anything. But you what? But I felt dead inside, like I was disappearing, like I was becoming invisible, even to myself. She moved out that weekend, packed her things while I sat in the living room, staring at the wall where our wedding photo used to hang. She'd taken it down, leaving a pale rectangle on the blue paint. Murphy kept looking for hers. He'd walk to the door every evening around the time she used to come home, tail wagging hopefully. I didn't have the heart to tell him she wasn't coming back. The divorce was finalized 6 months later. We split everything down the middle, the house, the savings, the debt. She kept Murphy. I couldn't bear to fight her for him. I sold the house on Maple Street, couldn't stand living there anymore, surrounded by the ghosts of who we used to be. The new owners painted over Sarah's yellow kitchen. I drove by once and saw them through the window, a young couple laughing over dinner. I hope they're happy. I hope they're kinder to each other than we were. The hardest part wasn't the betrayal itself. It was understanding that the woman I'd loved for 15 years was capable of such deception, that she could kiss me goodbye in the morning and spend the afternoon with someone else, that she could lie to my face for months and sleep peacefully beside me at night. But I also had to confront my own role in our marriage's death. Yes, she cheated. Yes, she lied. But I'd checked out too, hadn't I? I'd stopped seeing her, really seeing her. I'd assumed that marriage was a destination rather than a journey. That once we'd said I do, we'd done all the work we needed to do. We'd both let the marriage die long before she stepped outside of it. Her affairs were the funeral, not the murder. I'm in therapy now. Dr. Chen is patient and kind, nothing like the stereotype of the silent analyst. She's helping me understand that betrayal isn't just about the person who leaves, it's about the person who stays too. How we create the conditions that make leaving possible. I'm learning that love isn't just a feeling, it's a choice you make every day. A choice to see your partner, to nurture them, to fight for the relationship even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Sarah and I both stopped choosing each other long before she chose someone else. I ran into her last month at the grocery store. She looked older, tired. She was alone, buying frozen dinners and wine. "How are you?" she asked. "Good," I said. "Better. I'm glad." We stood there in the cereal aisle, two people who used to share everything, struggling to find words for small talk. "I'm sorry," she said finally, "for all of it. For the lying, for the—" "I know. Do you hate me?" I thought about it, really thought about it. "No," I said, "I don't hate you. I'm sad about what we lost, but I don't hate you." She nodded, tears in her eyes. "I hate myself enough for both of us." That broke my heart all over again. Even after everything, I didn't want her to suffer. I'm dating someone new. Her name is Catherine, and she's nothing like Sarah. She's a teacher, quiet and thoughtful, with freckles and a smile that doesn't remind me of anyone else. We take things slowly. We talk about everything. We've established ground rules about honesty, about staying present, about choosing each other every day. I told her about Sarah, about the divorce, about why I sometimes get quiet when she's on her phone. She listened without judgment, held my hand, told me she was grateful I'd learned to recognize the signs. "I'm not her," Catherine said, "and you're not the same person you were then." She's right. I'm not the same person. I'm more careful now, more intentional. I don't take love for granted. I don't assume that marriage is a guarantee against loneliness or that commitment is a shield against temptation. I'm also more forgiving of Sarah, of myself, of the messy complexity of human relationships. People are flawed. We all have the capacity for both love and betrayal, often within the same moment. The story I've told you isn't really about infidelity. It's about the slow erosion of connection, the way two people can drift apart while living in the same house, sleeping in the same bed, sharing the same last name. Sarah didn't wake up one morning and decide to destroy our marriage. She woke up one morning and realized she felt invisible, that she'd become a ghost in her own life. The affairs weren't about sex or romance. They were about feeling seen, feeling alive, feeling like she mattered. I'm not excusing what she did. Betrayal is a choice, and she chose to handle her pain in a way that caused immense pain to someone she claimed to love. But I understand now that her actions came from a place of desperation, not malice. We both failed our marriage. She failed it spectacularly, dramatically, in a way that ended it. But I failed it too, quietly, invisibly, in a way that made her ending seem like the only option. If you're reading this and you're married, or in love, or thinking about either, pay attention. Not to the big moments, the anniversaries and the holidays, but to the small ones. The way your partner sighs when they come home from work. The way they reach for you in bed. The way they laugh at your jokes or stop laughing at your jokes. Love isn't a noun, it's a verb. It requires action, attention, intention. It requires showing up every day even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it. Don't wait for the crisis to start fighting for your relationship. Don't wait for the betrayal to realize what you've lost. Don't wait for the photographs on a private investigator's desk to understand that something precious has been broken. Fight for it now. Choose it now. See each other now, because the alternative, this hollow ache where my marriage used to be, isn't worth the risk. I'm writing this on what would have been our 16th wedding anniversary. Instead of celebrating, I'm sitting in my new apartment, Murphyless and alone, but not lonely. Catherine is coming over later. We're going to cook dinner together, watch a movie, maybe talk about taking a trip to the mountains next month. It's a different life than the one I planned. Smaller in some ways, bigger in others, more uncertain, but also more intentional, more honest. I don't know if Sarah is happy. I hope she is. I hope she's learned to see herself the way I once saw her, as someone worth loving, worth fighting for, worth choosing. Every day. As for me, I'm learning to love again. Not the easy love of youth, full of assumptions and expectations, but the harder love of middle age, full of knowledge and choice and the daily decision to stay. It's messier than I thought it would be, more complicated, more fragile, but it's also more real. And after everything I've been through, real is enough.